Get in the know. Non-stop Vikings talk. It's Purple Daily on Score North and ScoreNorth.com. Purple Daily, presented by Surly Brewing Company.
All right, Happy New Year from Mackey and Judd and from Declan, who, what time is it Central Time right now? About 11:30?
He's awake. My guess is probably a couple drinks in as he pre-games for the coldest experience of his life, the Winter Classic.
Is he sitting outside for the Winter Classic while you sit in the posh press box?
Oh, yeah,
What's happening?
Yeah, his gal got him 2 tickets, and he's taking his brother. To be clear, she did not want to go, so he's not spurning
Wait,
her.
He's forcing her to sit outside in minus 20?
He's taking his brother. She said she got him 2 tickets, but to be clear, she did not want to go.
Okay.
So he's not spurning her.
I mean,
I don't blame her.
I don't want to sit outside. Listen, it looks like a blast, and I'm sure you guys will have fun in the warm, toasty press box, drinking your hot chocolate, looking down on all of the peons with their blankets and whatnot. I like how they did send out a press release saying that, hey, you can bring blankets into Target Field. So,
thanks a lot.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate that.
Oh, God. Oh, really? Really? I can bring blankets in. Can I wrap booze in those blankets?
Yeah. Don't check for my 9 flasks of brandy. So, all right, this is kind of we always do purple props on Saturday. And I don't know why, but on Thursday when we were knocking some stuff out through my food poisoning and my travel cancellations and escapades, we pumped out a bunch of episodes, and then we stopped at purple props. And I don't know if it was like clairvoyant Judd or what, but I think it was you that said, maybe we shouldn't record this a day early. Maybe we should just because you never know what can happen in the National Football League, right?
No, you don't.
And 12 hours later, Kirk Cousins becomes, like the 10,000th NFL player to test positive, or coach or whatever, for the Omicron variant. He does, according to some reports, feel so apparently he felt symptoms and then sort of, checked himself with the team doctors, and they tested him and whatnot. So you gave a 5-minute emergency episode yesterday for the people, but we figured let's jump on here. We will do our game picks, which I think you all know where that's about to head now that Sean Mannion's starting. But let's flesh out our thoughts on just the situation that popped up this week with Kirk Cousins, and then the bigger picture of the Vikings, knowing what lies in front of them now. Sean Mannion against the Packers in a must-win game with maybe jobs on the line.
Good luck on that one. So I actually, the last thing that I did on the Cousins topic yesterday was wrote a column for ScoreNorth.com about it. And I know that people are mad. Kirk was going to be, because this goes back to training camp. Now, I think that you can make a pretty good case that vaxxed or not vaxxed with the way that this variant has spread, Phil, that Kirk Cousins, like a lot of guys, Mannion last Sunday, was going to test positive. So this is not a bang the table if you'd only been vaxxed. I mean,
agreed.
Is he going to get sicker? He might. Hope he doesn't. But that's really the discussion. More is about his health personally, because we've had so many now, including myself, breakthrough cases. So what I wrote and what I believe to be true is this. Purely from, I'll preface this, a football standpoint, okay? So I am not wishing bad on anybody. I just want to make this very clear. I'm talking to you from a football standpoint. Kirk Cousins and this entire thing, I believe, does the Vikings a favor. This team has no business, zero, competing for a playoff spot that in my opinion should not exist, because the 7th playoff team in this conference especially is going to be crap. The Vikings have at every turn disappointed. They have at every turn not reached the expectations that go back to training camp, which, to be clear, were high. I did not go into this year saying, well, I hope they can make the 7th seed. I think we all said this, and I think it was accurate. It looks foolish now. Compete with the Packers for the division title, if not win it.
And if there's people shouting at you right now saying that was an unrealistic high expectation, then my follow-up to that would be, why is the expectation so low in year 8 of Mike Zimmer year 4 of Kirk Cousins, year 15 of Rick Spielman. Like, why? You've got all the in theory, you got all the pieces in place that you set in place as an organization. You spent all this money on defensive free agents. Injuries happen across the. You want to talk about injuries? Look at the Packers. The Packers have had maybe more like top end player injuries than almost any other team in the NFL. And so, like, it's to your point, it's either they fell short of the expectations that should have been, or the expectations should have inexplicably been set lower despite all of these things being in place.
And as Dukes has said repeatedly, and I heard the same thing, ownership within that building, there were big expectations. Like, they did everything that was asked as far as our defense stunk, go get more help. They did that. They got veterans on that side of the ball. And so the most important thing is, what did the Wilfs expect? And the Wilfs expected that this was going to be a really good team. And so to go back to the Kirk thing, I think that the way that this played out, as inconvenient as it's going to be for the team itself, Zimmer, Spielman probably, I think it plays out perfectly, because the closer that we can get to sticking a fork in this team and to being done for 2021 as far as that season goes, Phil, the better. So I'm not going to complain about it one bit. I'm glad. The last thing I want this group of this unlikable team to do is go into Green Bay and, we won, we swept the Packers. Don't you see what's going on here? Like,
what if they rally around Sean Mannion? What if Aaron Rodgers? I mean, what if we have another devastating hit on Aaron Rodgers like Anthony Barr a few years ago? I mean, what? I don't think that's going to happen.
No Thielen. I know it's not seen as a huge loss, but Dantzler, I think, is doubtful. So, like, Chris Boyd, who's not good, is going to have to play. So I don't want to see this team in these last 2 games, and especially Sunday night, Phil, experience success. I want to see them be done, and then I want to see changes start. The sooner that we can get to that without this fraudulent, we're a playoff team, respect us, BS. So I actually, long-winded way of saying, I think Cousins not playing is great.
Yeah. So I've just maybe it's my bad brisket hallucinations this week, but I've just been in like thinking about the future and big picture of the Vikings mode. You know, even before Kirk Cousins went out with COVID, you know, making this game all but officially a win for the Packers. I've got 3 strong organizational thoughts that I want to throw at you here, and they're all sort of in different bins. But number 1 is, any way you slice it at this point, the 3 most important figureheads for this organization beneath ownership. I mean, ownership is always going to be number 1, but you can't root for ownership to change. It's hard. Like, they're not just going to sell the team. And by the way, I think they're good owners. I think the Wilfs care. I think they're willing to spend money, but it's, you know, sometimes we praise the Wilfs spend money and the Pohlads don't. Well, yeah, but the NFL's structure makes it so that you literally can't take a loss because the salary cap protects you from doing so. But they're good owners. The 3 most important figureheads beneath the Wilfs are the general manager, the coach, and the quarterback. And my first, I guess, strong thought is, if your goal is to win a Super Bowl, I don't know how much more evidence you need to see of the trio of Zimmer, Spielman, and Cousins together. I'm not suggesting you should just recklessly blow it all up and close your eyes and swing for 3 more replacements. Like, I think if you're going to get rid of all 3, you need to have an ironclad plan for how you're going to go 3 for 3 on those hires. So I could listen to any scenario in which you shake that trio up, but that trio is not going to win a Super Bowl. I don't know how much more proof you need. Like, the closest they came, by the way, was without Cousins, right? I mean, you know, Rick Spielman came close in 2009 as part of the front office with Brad Childress, Brett Favre, bit of a fluke pop-up season. 2017 was more of an organically built defensive team, Mike Zimmer and Rick Spielman, and they knocked on the door. They went to the NFC Championship game. But that trio as constructed is not going to win a Super Bowl for the Vikings. And so if you want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl, you can't bring those 3 guys back in their current roles and run it back again. I'll stop there. Do you have thoughts on that?
I agree completely. And I just think that they took their chance there. They took their shot with Kirk as the final piece of that puzzle, and it didn't work. And look, the shot taken at the time seemed like at the time a good one. So I don't know what more, to your point as well. I don't know what more you need to see too. Like what's gonna make you say, you know what, that performance against the Packers on a Sunday night game with us at 7 wins, 15 games in, that just changed my mind. So that's my big thing about the changes that I want is I've seen enough. Like there's no, the sample size is pretty small, Judd. No, it's actually not small. The personalities don't necessarily mesh. So yeah, I think the reality that you just said, I think if that has not hit the Wilfs square in the face, I don't know what's going to get them there, because everything that you said, I think, is what we've all seen, and we certainly don't own this football team.
Yeah, and then from there you kind of have to figure out, okay, like let's say they've come to that realization, then they have to figure out, and I'm sure they're having these conversations. You've heard that they've been doing due diligence for several weeks behind the scenes. They have to figure out, okay, how reckless is it to start over? Mm-hmm. Do we want, and they've notoriously preached stability, so I would be shocked if they just gutted all 3 of those spots and started over.
Agreed. But
they're trying to figure out, okay, is it we keep Spielman? Do we keep Spielman in a certain role and then replace Zimmer and then try to restructure Kirk? Like I'm sure they're going through these different ruminations, right? My strong thought number 2 here, reflecting on 2021 and life and the Vikings, is Kirk is a good quarterback, but you either need to get better, cheaper, or both at that position. And that can mean a number of different things. Like, I think people love to hold up this idea that, well, he's like the second or third best quarterback in franchise history, or look at his numbers, look at the passer rating, or look at the completion percentage, or my favorite is, but he's like the 8th to 12th best quarterback in the league. Name me a better quarterback that you could get that's available. And I say, first of all, there's only 32 teams in the league, so like, to hold up this idea, like, well, he's the 10th best quarterback in the league. Okay, so he's in the 67th percentile in a league where, like, your goal is to win a Super Bowl, and he's paid going into next year to the cap as the 3rd highest paid player in the NFL. I mean, it's so you either need, if you're going to pay a guy that much money to the cap, he needs to be a transformational Pat Mahomes, Tom Brady type. And by the way, those guys have cap numbers that are far lower than Kirk
because of because of that.
So you either, again, need someone better that makes that much money, or you need someone cheaper that can help you build the rest of your roster. And if Kirk wants to be the cheaper answer, like, if I would listen to the argument of, all right, I'll cut this down to like $18 million so we can build a monster team, I would entertain that discussion. But it's got to be a better quarterback, a cheaper quarterback, or both if you want the team to be better.
And the odds of Kirk doing that are 0. Kirk is not going to. Like, Kirk's pride is tied up in, look at the contract, look at the guaranteed cash, right? But so here's the path, and we've gone down this in some ways, but I think we need to explore this as well, Phil, probably more thoroughly, and it's going to drive the Kirk stands crazy, and I just don't care at this point. Do you know what we don't do? Because Kirk is a fringe top 10, and on his best day, he's probably 8 to 10 quarterback athletically, as far as what he can do at quarterback. And
by athletically, you mean like more arm talent?
Yeah. I'm saying he doesn't fit the 2022 template, but he does fit a template of a guy who can throw the ball pretty damn well, and of a guy who, when he cuts it loose, can be effective. But you know what we don't explore, and we don't explore it because there's no quantifiable stat for it. We don't explore the fact that Kirk Cousins is darn near at the bottom of starting quarterbacks in this league when it comes to the intangibles. He can't lead. It is crystal clear that any praise of Kirk is what we call in the business lip service. He doesn't have that gene. He doesn't. He is for lack of a better term, he's a milquetoast, boring, run-of-the-mill guy who
he's an employee. He's an employee.
But I mean, but the problem is he plays a position where the intangibles are huge. Like the intangibles are damn near, if not as important as what can he do at quarterback? Mm-hmm. Can he lead? Can guys follow him? I mean, this is football, man. Quarterback's that spot. Like, that's the one thing I will give Mike this. That's the one thing for all of the quarterback stuff that he might not have done well. That's what Mike saw in Teddy. People would follow him into anywhere. That's impressive. That's important. Kirk is the polar opposite. Nobody follows him. Nobody can, and don't come back and be like, how do you know that? Just watch games.
You know what? Did you ever get into NASCAR back in the heyday, like in the 90s?
I was not like you. I did not.
So, we've been friends long enough. Like I used to be a huge NASCAR fan as a kid in the 90s. My uncle raced in Lacrosse Motor Speedway in Wisconsin, and so Dale Earnhardt was always one of my favorite athletes as a kid. And like I'm gonna make it. I'm sure there's probably 5% of our audience that used to be the same watching NASCAR. Kirk is the NASCAR driver, where we got a 3-hour race here, 500 laps, and if the car is in pristine condition, he's one of the 5 best racers. Like he's gonna hit every corner. He's gonna race efficiently. He knows how to pass guys, right? Like he can hold a lead if everything's perfect. But when there's 20 laps left, and now you got to navigate a little fuel crisis, the handling's a little loose. Maybe three of your counterparts have fresher tires or something. Like when the race gets down into crisis mode, he's not the step up and carry guys. I don't care. I don't care if this car is loose as a goose. I'm getting this thing across the finish line. I'm going to find a way, right?
Yep.
I don't care if my tires are bald. I'm holding these guys off behind me. Like he's looking around the room for other people to step up and fix the problem. Now, that doesn't mean all the time he fails in clutch. That's the other thing that happens. Like people say, well, what about that game over here? What about this game over here? Yeah, of course. What about that Saints playoff game? Yes, that's true. All those things are true. He doesn't have to give those games back. But compared to the average top quarterback, and we've brought stats to the show on a regular basis, he falls short in leadership. He falls short when crisis happens, when the pocket gets muddy, when he's pressured. Basically, all the things and obstacles you have to go through if you want to win a Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. He's not good in those moments. And so then again, the conversation comes to, okay, so he gets dinged here, here, and here, despite all this arm talent. And, when the conditions are perfect, he's going to sit back and throw darts and 300 yards. If he's dinged here, here, and here, is it enough to say, all right, well, let's ding you where it counts in the wallet so that we can build a monster team around you that can help make up for those deficiencies? Or are those deficiencies checkmate if you want to win a Super Bowl, regardless of how much money he makes to the cap?
I think they're checkmate. I really do. I think that they are at that position right now. I think it is checkmate. And the problem is this. If we could take Kirk's actual talent up like 2 notches, like if you put him on the par of a Rodgers or a guy like that, you could be a freak. And guys are like, you're a freak, but you're really, really good. Kirk doesn't have that. And so the lacking in intangibles hurts. But this is the conversation that's nuanced and difficult. And because it can't be quantified by statistics, where the Kirk stands say, oh, just shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. Just watch the game, watch the teams, watch him, watch how his teammates react to Kirk. There's a lot of important things here. And the fact that this team feels like it is a lot of several very talented individuals, but not a team, starts, unfortunately, at that position. Mm-hmm. Like if you don't have the quarterback, I don't think Justin Jefferson, Phil, can say, okay, all right, Kirk's okay. He's sort of a milquetoast dude, but I got this. I think in basketball, positionally, that works. Like our center really can't lead, but I'm a guard, so that's fine, right? Hockey. our defensemen are sort of weird dudes, and I don't like them, but they're not too bad. But I am a winger, and I can lead. That works.
I actually think it can work. Like it can work if the quarterback is just like a lesser piece to the entire puzzle, and it's not. You can't be a lesser piece when you're one of the highest paid players in the NFL.
Right. That's what. But that's the important thing. But I also think that it's important that the team rallies around and respects the guy at least. And I don't sense a lot of respect there. And I'll give you one thing to me, and I have not seen this mentioned or talked about. And this is the type of thing that's very intricate, but to me, an interesting part. Kirk Cousins tomorrow night is going to miss his first start since he joined the Vikings beyond the last game of the 2019 season, in which he was sat on purpose, which is just fine. That's not a criticism from me. But nobody's talking about that. Like, this guy's been an Iron Man. Like Brett Favre, Brett Favre might miss a game, right? Or Brett Favre, ordinarily when you don't get hurt or sick, that is a badge of honor, Phil, that's talked about and like beaten into the ground. It's never talked about with Kirk. He's not even perceived to be that guy. So
that's true. It is kind
very
of amazing.
Intriguing.
Yeah,
that's incredible.
The
guy doesn't miss games.
What do you have to say? And by the way, we should shout out to just real quick here our friends at TCL. So if you've been supporting us just by watching or listening to our show, then thank you. And if you've been supporting us by supporting our sponsors, thank you doubly, because they're the ones that help keep us employed here on Purple Daily. But TCL is a great way to ring in the new year. All kinds of great football action on the horizon here in the month of January. And they've got a new lineup of award-winning TVs delivering the most entertainment with stunning resolution, all at an affordable cost. Enjoy more of the things you love with TCL. What do you have to say? And then I'll get to my third strong thought here in a second. But there's a lot of people that will come back. Any sort of critical conversation about Kirk is met with, what are you guys doing? The defense is the train wreck here. I mean, look at the defense the last couple of years. They've been ranked in the go to any category. It's like bottom 5, bottom 10. Like you numbskulls. Why would you not be talking about the thing that's the biggest problem here? What do you say to that?
I say this: the entire team does not work. That doesn't mean that they don't have talented players at certain positions, but the entire thing. But I'm deconstructing this thing piece by piece by piece. Like that's where I think it becomes so imperative that they get a fresh set of eyes in the front office to do exactly that. I say the defense doesn't work. And that's a damn concern here, considering your coach is a defensive guy. I will say that I think in its totality, the quarterback position doesn't work. That's a concern. So like when you look at what's wrong here, unfortunately, it's not just one thing. It's all important. But the Kirk topic is why you need a person here who didn't sign Kirk, because it has to be looked at like we're talking about it right now, good and bad, but critically. And because if you just go by the stats and box score, Kirk Cousins is fine, absolutely fine. If you watch the games, if you watch how Kirk reacts and what Kirk does, now we've got a discussion that goes far beyond the statistics and box score. But yes, the run defense to me, inexcusably bad.
Yeah, and I would say my opinion is similar but a little different in that, to me, the defense is an obvious problem the last couple of years. And so, maybe we aren't spending enough time hammering the obvious problem because we're looking underneath the floorboards here. Like, you're looking at, the house is on fire over here, and if you can just put the fire out, then the house is going to be fine again. And I'm saying, well, actually, there's a lot of mold on the interior, regardless of the fire. That people aren't paying attention. I think a lot of people figure if you snap your fingers and get a more, if you think Mike Zimmer has lost his touch defensively or whatever, like you can fix the defense through better coaching, scheming, and drafting in players, however you want to fix the defense. A lot of people think if you can just fix the defense, then this thing becomes a championship caliber team. And I would tell you two things. I think you're mistaken because I don't think you have a championship caliber quarterback, but I also think the non-championship caliber quarterback that makes that much money relative to the salary cap prevents you from building the monster defense that you want to build. Right. It's the same problem Seattle's been having too with Russell Wilson. And Russell Wilson, I think, is less likely in Seattle to restructure his contract to be team friendly so they can build the rest of their roster because he doesn't like playing for Pete Carroll anymore. And that's probably a thing with Cousins. If Cousins loved his head coach, maybe he'd be more willing to say, all right, guys, all right, I know you disagree, but all these pieces kind of fit together. The fact that the coach and the quarterback don't have good chemistry means why would the quarterback compromise and do something for the team if Mike Zimmer doesn't compromise and if Rick Spielman doesn't compromise and get a right guard in here who can block, right? It's just the whole thing
doesn't work.
It will fix the defense. That's the obvious front-facing problem.
Right.
And maybe we haven't talked enough about it, and I will say that for us, and maybe we should. But there are underlying things under the floorboards here that I think we find more interesting and important to the greater cause here of winning a Super Bowl.
I think it's fair to say this. I think the puzzle does not fit together. And it's a multitude of things. And unfortunately, I think that the conversations in this town far too often turn towards, well, if you just fix this, it's going to be fine, right? Super Bowl or bust. And that's not the case. And I think it's difficult for people, especially diehards, to accept the fact that this whole thing has run its course and it needs changes. But yeah, you're right. If the house is on fire and you put out the fire, the house is still in bad shape. And
it was what I'm saying is the house was in bad shape even before it caught fire.
Well, and what I'm suggesting is, and I think this can be done relatively quickly. What I'm suggesting is you got to tear a bunch of this house down. Now, I am going to leave the Jefferson beam in place. The Jefferson beam's solid. I got the foundation, baby.
I would argue that the Brian O'Neill beam over here is great.
Exactly.
I kind of like the Christian Darrisaw beam over here too.
But this puppy needs some work in some key places.
The Ezra Cleveland countertops, I'm fine with those. Those are great. Yes. Give me the Cam Bynum trim on the outside of
that's just the trim.
The windows too.
That's just the trim. But I mean the Jefferson beam. We got a starting point here.
So all right, my third strong thought here, wrapping up 2021 and heading into 2022 is, so Sean Mannion is starting this game on Sunday night. And the fact that the Vikings are starting Mannion over Mond is an indictment on, I initially tweeted this out and said, it's an indictment on one of two things. And there might be a third option here too, I guess. But it's either an indictment on Mond, that he's just not getting it quick enough to dude, it ain't like it's not like he's trying to beat out a Nick Foles or something, right? Like the Bears' third string quarterback is a former Super Bowl MVP. And so I could see if you got a backup with some pedigree or something that's in there, you're not going to leapfrog that guy, maybe. It makes sense. Sure. Sean Mannion is one of the least credible backup quarterbacks in the NFL in terms of how comfortable you would feel putting him into a game. He's a glorified assistant coach, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, that's what he is. And maybe he proves me wrong and lights it up on Sunday, in which case I'll eat crow on Monday. But the fact that Mond, after 4 or 5 months, it's either an indictment on his ability to get up to speed or whatnot, or it's an indictment on the coaching staff not getting him up to speed. It's always kind of felt like he's just been off to the side. Listen, we've got crisis after crisis every week here trying to fix the offensive line and the scheme, and we had a self-scouting come to Jesus week before the bye and this and that. Sorry, Kellen, we just don't have time to pour energy into you. Not to mention the head coach doesn't care about developing a backup quarterback that may or may not help him keep his job. And the 34-year-old offensive coordinator is probably in over his head when it comes to working with the starting quarterback. So they don't have the time that other teams would to pour energy into that. Absolutely. And a lot of people clap back and say, well, what about Rick Spielman? What if Rick Spielman may have whiffed on the pick? And I say he might have. I just think it's way too early after a few months to say that oh my God, this guy can't play football in the NFL. I think once you make that pick, you put him into the organization, and it's up to him to get up to speed fairly quickly, and then it's up to, we're not talking he hasn't played the game yet. I don't think you can ding the general manager until we've seen the guy, 2 or 3 years down the road. But the coaching staff can't get him up to speed and feel confident enough. He's much more talented than Sean Mannion. 5-6 months since training camp. So I don't know. Like the whole thing feels like an indictment on everyone and everything.
Oh yeah, definitely does. I think I have a solution here for this, because Kirk was going to play. Kirk got sick. It's not surprising, but got sick and was put on the list on Friday. It's going to be freezing cold in Green Bay. Mond's snaps during the week were probably few and far between, if any. The Vikings almost certainly, we all should hope, are going to lose. So they'll be done. I think the indictment is if Mond does not start the Bears game, and here's why.
Do you think Cousins would start that game? Is there any way Cousins would play that game?
He could, because if he doesn't have symptoms in 5 days and clears, I think twice, 2 tests, he can now come back. Yeah. But this is my point for where I think the Vikings are far more susceptible to be criticized. Give Mond basically, if as soon as the game ends and hopefully you've lost to the Packers, you go to Mond and say, next Sunday you start. You're getting all the snaps in practice. Like we're going to fulfill everything with you in the coming week that a starting quarterback would get. It's an indoor game, so it's warm. So we're not exposing you to this, 5 below frigid,
it's
miserable
not
night.
TV.
It's exactly. Yeah. So I think that is, and I don't care if Kirk is good to go. I think the answer is, and I think it's an indictment, if the Vikings start either Cousins or Mannion at 7 and 9 in that Bears game, that's BS.
What's amazing though is I agree, all of those weather reasons too, and national TV, those are okay, do you want to throw a guy out there and
he probably didn't get snaps this week. I'll give him that.
Yep. Or he got scout team snaps or something. So right. I understand all that stuff, but people act like, well, Sean Mannion can shoulder all of those things. Sean Mannion's gonna, he'll be less impacted by the cold. It's really? It's cold for everybody.
I think the biggest thing that bothers us all about Mond is this, because I don't have a problem with a kid not playing. That's not, it's a little bit concerning that he couldn't eventually dress for games, but you know what? Sit behind the scenes, learn, you get some snaps, as you just said, scout team snaps. I think the indictment is you, me, Declan, the listeners, we don't trust the Vikings to develop him. If they had a resume of look what we've done with quarterbacks and stuff, we would all be like, oh, okay, I totally get it. Pretty smart.
They just avoid quarterbacks.
Exactly. But that's our problem. We both think, and I think that we're right, that Kellen Mond probably has been put on the shelf and is collecting quarterback dust. Mm-hmm. And that's where this is. But it's not like we're just spitballing and guessing. If this kid gets in and plays well and looks super prepared, I'll be shocked. But I would give him that last start.
Did I see this right? I just want to pull this up real quick here. Someone, because the Vikings had what? They had 3 third-round picks and then a couple of...
And you did see that right. Those snaps are right. Chaz Surratt, who was a converted quarterback to linebacker, hasn't played. Wyatt Davis hasn't played. Kellen Mond hasn't played.
Yeah, so all right, so this is, we should do a full episode on this.
I mean, it's not good. I saw
their third-round picks are Kellen Mond, Chaz Surratt, and Wyatt Davis, and Patrick Jones. Is Patrick Jones the only one who's played snaps?
Yes.
They had 4 third-round picks.
And 3 of them haven't played. And the quarterback, I do get that one. Wyatt Davis is, and I don't even care at this point. It's bizarre to me.
Yeah, and how many of this is a conversation for another day, but I think some of this is Mike Zimmer just has lost trust in young players playing. He'd rather roll with, a career special teamer or something as a linebacker stepping up. Mm-hmm. Now Cam Bynum has stepped up, and he was a 4th-round pick, and it took him a while, but Wong Wu has gotten some time, mostly because of injuries.
Yep.
So, and then Smith Marset, hasn't done a whole lot this year, but did catch a touchdown against the Rams, I want to say. So, I don't know. That's pretty bad. Like, you're either not drafting the right players, which is what a lot of people would say. I think what Rick Spielman would say is, no, these dudes are talented. We got a problem with Mike Zimmer and the coaching staff not trusting them or developing them.
I think the coach says, I have to win or I'm fired. Why would I play a converted quarterback to linebacker? And Spielman's like, yeah, but I mean, have you seen the athletic talent of Chaz Surratt? It's unbelievable. And Mike's like, well, that's fine, but that doesn't help me. And yeah, I don't think the most important people with this franchise right now, and this includes, to what you said before, Phil, Kirk Cousins, I don't think anybody's on the same page.
Yeah. All right, let's quickly get to just our usual slate of purple props here, playoff odds and the game against Green Bay, presented by our friends at Surly, ringing in the new year. I saw you last night ringing in the new year with a little can of Surly.
Got the robe on. I had the robe on.
Is that a Surly branded robe?
It should be. I don't think they have such a thing. No, I got the hat on, but I don't think that's a great idea.
Why don't they have robes? Come on,
like
guys.
A patch, like a Surly patch. And I told you, pipe too. And I can combine all of those things with absolutely my favorite beer in the whole wide world. Drinking a few of them last night to ring in 2022 Surly Furious IPA. If you're going to go to that last game against the Bears and you're saying to yourself, what's my incentive to be here in the stadium watching this team play? I'm going to tell you right now, Surly available throughout the stadium. It'll make your day better. Of course, drink responsibly, but Surly Furious is the way to go in 2022.
Boom. That's right. Actually, let me hit that sounder with proper John Madden volume here.
Come on!
Yeah.
Football!
There you go. Also, hey, Federated's been helping business owners for over 100 years, for many, many years before 2022. But heading into the new year, if you are a business owner and you're looking for just better risk management, risk protection, protecting your employees, your bottom line, that's where Federated comes in. Think of them as a good, solid, reliable offensive line. They're just out there. You got to serve on the field as a quarterback.
They step right in.
Yeah, exactly. But they're a first-round pick that you hit on.
Yeah.
The Vikings haven't done a lot of that outside of Justin Jefferson. So federatedinsurance.com. And remember, at Federated, it's our business to protect yours. So, all right, purple props, playoff odds heading into this week. Now, this percentage, I think it remains the same despite who the quarterback is going to be, but obviously, I grabbed these percentages before that news came out. 538 has the Vikings at a 13% chance to make the playoffs, 0.1% chance to make the Super Bowl. Football Outsiders has them at a 19% chance to make the playoffs, 0.1% Super Bowl. And they're just they have to win.
Yes.
And then they're hoping for Eagles, Niners losses and Saints loss, and it's a jumbled mess.
And I think if they were to upset the Packers, I think I heard the playoff chances go up to 50% at that chance because they're in great shape at that. But I mean, come on.
Because it's an NFC win.
Yep.
And it's a win that you weren't expected to win.
Yep.
So, and then the Vikings they've gone from 6.5-point underdogs. This is actually the most I've seen a line move because of a quarterback change, but it speaks to what Vegas thinks of the difference between Kirk Cousins and Sean Mannion.
Sure.
Because a lot of times a starting quarterback will go out, like Lamar Jackson goes out, that line doesn't move a touchdown. The Vikings are 13-point underdogs now on the road against the Packers. So I'd be curious to know, if you talk to some of the sharks in Vegas, is this one of the widest point spread gaps between starting quarterback and backup quarterback in the NFL? It feels like it. I mean, Sean Mannion has done nothing in his career on the field. So
started career-wise, 3 games or something like that. So yeah,
and it hasn't gone well.
Mm-hmm.
So they're 13-point underdogs. Sunday Night Football. 67% of the bets are on the Packers, but 96% of the money is on the Packers. And so I think that tells you that there's a lot of high roller money coming in saying, I don't care what the spread is. Aaron Rodgers is ridiculous, and now he's facing Sean Mannion. To add to it, the Packers are 11-3 against the spread this season and 6-1 against the spread at home this season. Aaron Rodgers in his career at home, this is nuts. This is 15 years of sample size here, or 13 years. Aaron Rodgers in his career at home is 68, 37, and 4 against the spread. He's 31 games above 500 against the spread. That's a 25% ROI.
That's nuts.
If you just bet Aaron Rodgers to cover the spread at home, regardless of opponent or the number.
Whew.
So, I mean, I think, well, I'll just go ahead. Who wins and who covers?
The Packers win. Here's my problem with the spread. The weather. So it's supposed to be, it's a night game. I believe the forecast calls for a temperature flat out of 0 at kickoff. And I always go back to the Seahawks Vikings playoff game where you couldn't score points. Like, it was very hard to score points. That line would scare me off. I think I would not touch it. I would bet the Packers to win the game for sure. But 13, if you're going to cover by 13, like, are they going to win 16-0? Are the Vikings going to score a touchdown? If you made me take a side, I'd probably take the Packers and give the points. But when it's going to be that cold outside, it does give me cause to be a little bit concerned.
Yeah, I actually at one of the hotels we were displaced at before finally getting on a plane, I literally was like watching YouTube videos of the coldest NFL games ever, like the freezer. Well, the Ice Bowl is the most famous one.
Yeah,
the Freezer Bowl between the Chargers and the Bengals back in the early '80s.
Playoff game, right? That was fantastic.
The Raiders and the Browns from like 1981, I want to say.
Okay,
and yeah, these were, and then the Vikings and the Seahawks was like the third coldest game ever.
Mm-hmm.
And almost all of those games are under 30 or 40 combined points.
Yeah.
And almost all of them are just really hard to score. So to your point, could I see like Packers win 19-7 or something in a game that looks closer on the scoreboard than it is? Maybe. But I actually think Aaron Rodgers thrives off motivation, and I think he respects Mike Zimmer, but I also think there's a healthy level of, I want to stick it to these guys. This team feels like it's on the ropes organizationally, and I can deliver like an organizational changing knockout punch, get people fired, and that's kind of what it feels like. So I'm going to say Packers win, and I think the Packers cover. I think they cover the 13. That's a huge number, but
that's a really big number.
I don't know if I see like a backdoor cover,
but it could be like 19-3.
In which case, well, then the Packers would cover,
right? But I'm saying that's possible. I just can't see it being like a game where it's easy to move the ball. I think it's going to be difficult. And if these teams are smart, just run, because just run.
Well, that's what the Vikings need to run the ball like 40 times in this game.
But I mean, just run clock too. Get this thing done with. Like, this is a waste of time.
You know who's the most mad is the NBC sports executives that didn't have enough time to shift this game out of a primetime spot, right?
They should have done that regardless. I guess the Packers do draw. But yeah, I was surprised. Like, this is for a Viking Packer game, this really lacks sex appeal.
Yeah.
Really badly.
Well, don't tell that to Sean Mannion and his family, all right?
Good for Sean.
Sexy man that's going to be trotting out
I hope
there.
he does well. I got nothing against Sean. I hope he does great.
I don't really care if he does well.
I hope he does well.
Just find me the next.
It's a new
the next iteration of
2022. 2022. Purple Kool-Aid, baby. It's a new Judd. Got the robe. Got the surly.
If they
Judd.
If they win the game, I'm very curious to see how Ventline goes. But if they lose the game in the fashion that we just all feel like they're going to lose the game, I think Ventline on Sunday night should just be all about, because then it's like official, right? Okay,
right.
Now we can fully talk about next year. We could just turn the last two Ventlines into 2022 Vikings. What should they do? Let's speculate. Let's have fun.
Yep.
We will finally have emerged from this dark 2-year period of bland Vikings football.
Hopefully.
There's no way they don't make changes, right? I think if they get smoked by Green Bay, I think they're going to jump out in front and let Mike Zimmer go. Before I think they want to interview coaching candidates.
I think they make changes. I don't know that I don't know that they're going to make the necessary changes.
We'll see.
I think that they are. I think what Dukes has been saying, the more I hear, is absolutely correct. I think they're torn on who would go. And yeah, I mean, stability is nice, but at some point in time, you have to understand that stability is also a crutch.
Well, stability is earned. That's the difference. Well, the Steelers and the Giants have stability. They also have like 11 Super Bowl championships.
And it's a crutch too. Like, we have stability. Okay. Do you have championships? Like, are you winning? Did things work? Well, no, but we have stability, and the Steelers do too. And yeah, well, you're right. Go look in their trophy case. They have Lombardi trophies.
Yeah. And now I don't think you should. I think stability is important. But I think at some point it's like, okay, is it earned stability?
Right.
Or I don't think you should just be firing coaches and GMs every 2 years like some of these teams do.
No, but yes, it definitely becomes a crutch. Well, look at us. We're stable. Yeah, but you're not good.
Yeah. All right. So much more we can get into here.
Long episode. Look at that.
We said we were going to do like 20 minutes.
20 minutes. It was 46
but
minutes.
I'll tell you, like, we are going to be, there is so much. I almost feel like the period between January and May is sometimes even more fun on this show. And
reckless speculation.
In the NFL. I mean, yeah, if you're just discovering us for the first time in the last few weeks or months, thank you. And thanks to everyone who's been there for the long haul too. We're just wrapping up 2021. This was a record year in every category for Purple Daily and Score North. So we appreciate you guys, but stick with us. Once the season's over, it might even be, because now it's going to be all about hope and the future and what could be and all these things. It's going to be, if you thought we're being too negative the last couple months, then just wait till the day after the season's over, because then it's all about how this team can build to an actual championship future.
I am so excited for the quarterback carousel.
I
think it could be.
It's going to be amazing. I mean, you're literally going to have like Hall of Famers potentially available, right? Rodgers, Russell Wilson. You know, the Steelers are going to be looking for a quarterback.
Yes, the Saints are going to be trying to find one, and the Saints are. I think the Saints are done screwing around. I think the Saints are going to try to find Drew Brees' replacement. Mm-hmm. Like, not, hey, can Jameis Winston play? You know, Taysom Hill might play, right? I think that was a 1 year and done. I think the Saints are going to put their foot down and say, we are going big game quarterback hunting.
Yeah, Sean Payton's been around long enough. Like, that dude doesn't want to tinker around for 2 more years.
And you don't think that a guy like Wilson wouldn't want to play for Sean Payton?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Offensive genius with a quarterback like that. Marriage made at least for a while in heaven.
Well, imagine Kirk with a guy like Sean Payton. Kirk, you'd see whatever the best version everyone thinks is of Kirk, you would see it with Sean Payton.
What would you think about Kirk?
Or they would hate each other. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think Payton would like Kirk. What do you think about Kirk in Pittsburgh?
I think he's a huge upgrade from Ben Roethlisberger's current condition.
Absolutely.
So I think he would help them. Yeah, and I think and they've had some issues with Ben's cap number too, so it's not like they'd find a way, sign him to a 3-year deal or something.
I think Peyton would see the flaws because he's like offensively gifted. He's really good. He's a jerk, but he's really good. I'm assuming Tomlin stays in Pittsburgh, and I think Tomlin he's not like the X's and O's offensive guy. And so I think Kirk seems like a very Pittsburgh move to me.
I think Pittsburgh's going to go after Aaron Rodgers first, just like the Broncos are going to go after Aaron Rodgers.
I think he might stay put, Phil.
I think there's a chance.
I think he might stay put.
But if you gave Rodgers a choice, would you want to go play for Pittsburgh or Green Bay one more time? I think he would be really interested in going and playing for Pittsburgh. The Packers ultimately have to trade him.
Aaron,
he doesn't get to fully dictate.
Aaron also, I thought he was, well, first of all, he's weird, but I thought that he was headstrong, like really, until he all spring and summer, right? It was all this, I'm going to get this and get that and blah, blah, blah. And then he just showed up at training camp and I'm like, hold on a second here. And I think he put on the big pout to get control. And I think that the Packers got scared And so I think because Aaron got what he wanted by pouting, I think he stays put. But I mean, Kirk in Pittsburgh would be intriguing to me. I could see that.
I think he'd look weird in those yellow pants. That's the only thing. But like most guys look weird in those yellow pants.
Yellow, yeah.
They have weird uniforms.
Yeah, I mean, okay, he's a clown. Who cares?
I'm glad the Vikings don't use yellow pants. That's also another discussion for another day. All right, this is Purple Daily. Happy New Year, everybody. Mackey and Judd, and for Declan, who is gearing up for the Winter Classic. We will see you guys on Vikings Vent Line tomorrow.